A bomb has dropped on the bureaucracy. Matt Gaetz, Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth. But can they be confirmed by the United States Senate? Could RFK? Let's ask someone who would know. Let's ask Senator Tommy Tuberville. 2 quick hits with Don Tinfoil from one of the biggest stories of the week that's got swept under the rug because we've all been focused on the transition of power. But that is FEMA weaponized against supporters of Donald Trump and sexiest man alive. 3, Donald Trump won the hood. Let's ask the host of LV Nation on YouTube, Lou Valentino from the Bronx, about the hood for Trump. It is the Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com on the Fox News YouTube channel, the Fox News Facebook page, where we continue to grow this audience in astronomical numbers, and we appreciate you watching and joining us at your lunch hour. Some 1.3 million of you joined us yesterday on Facebook. Every week on YouTube, we have been in the hundreds of thousands. We welcome all of you new viewers into the Willisha. What we'd love for you to do is to subscribe to this show on YouTube. There's a little button underneath the text description of this live stream. In there, you subscribe to the Will Cain Show channel. You'll get clips. You can watch us however you like, shorts, reels, clips of what happens here on the Will Cain Show. You can also go back and get the full episode whenever you like. But more importantly, you drop it in the comments section. You become a member. You start to become a member of this community. We bring you right here on air on Fox News. If you're listening on terrestrial radio across this great United States of America, well, subscribe on Apple or Spotify. Then we'll drop into your feed whenever you like. You give us a 5-star review, and you're also a member of the Willisha. I saw this video from my hometown, my home studios, the home base of the Will Cain Show, from Dallas, Texas. Caught my attention. Check out the hood in Dallas.
Guys, we're over here at the Victor Garcia Park here in Pharr, Texas. We're literally in the hood. Like, this is the hood. You know Cypress, you know Wright, you know Egley. You're in the hood here. So, it's currently 1:38 in the morning, but we're driving and we saw some. Damn. Look at what's in the hood.
Look at that. Look at that in Dallas, Texas. And that's representative of something that happened across the country. That's something that was represented in the Bronx. And we're going to be talking to a guy who has a very successful YouTube show. Lou Valentino is going to join us. He's the host of LV Nation on YouTube, and he's going to be joining us a little bit later here. We're going to talk about why Donald Trump was capable of winning the Bronx, how he was capable of winning the race for president of the United States. Now, I don't know. We've had an open debate with the Willisha. We've had an open debate with the guys on whether or not I should call him senator or I should call him coach. In the hierarchy of titles, I'm lost. I really am. Once a congressman, always a congressman. Once an ambassador, always an ambassador. I don't know, but I do know once a coach, always a coach. So does that leave you as coach or senator? We've got some important questions today about Matt Gaetz, about Tulsi Gabbard, about my ride or die, Pete Hegseth. So who gets confirmed in this aggressive bomb on the bureaucracy? Let's get into that with story number 1. He is a senator from Alabama. He's also the former coach at Auburn, Ole Miss, Texas Tech. He is Senator Tommy Tuberville. Coach, Senator, can you sell this debate for me right now? Like, I don't know. What do we do? Do we do coach? Do we do senator? Which title is highest on the hierarchy for you?
No, please call me coach. I'd rather be connected with that group than all this swamp up here. But everybody calls me coach here in Washington, D.C. It's good. It's really good.
It's interesting. I can't keep up with titles and which one takes priority. And it sounds like you've chosen coach as a more accurate representation of who you are. But, okay, if you become president, let's just say it becomes President Tuberville, you won't be coach then. You'd be President Tuberville.
Coach president.
That's good. That's good. I want to get into that with you a little later. But while we're on the note of coach, I do want to ask you, your coaching record, your resume, it's unassailable. You have an undefeated season on your resume. You are and were a legitimate head coach. What did you make of the whole play for Coach Tim Waltz as vice president?
Well, we ran him out of town pretty quick, Pete. But it's one of those deals that you have to understand. Somebody trying to be something that they're really not didn't go very far, and people read through him pretty quick. So there's only room for one coach up here in Washington, D.C., and I filled that pretty good for the last 4 years.
Well, there's only room for one Fox and Friends weekend host in Washington, D.C. as well. And it's not me, Coach. You referenced me as Pete. Unfortunately, that Fox and Friends weekend host is headed to be Secretary of Defense. So I'm Will.
That's right.
But I will not be insulted. It's a great confusion for me to share with one of my really good friends, possibly the next Secretary of Defense. But hey, one more on this coach note. I think he was D-line coach in high school. And I had this debate. I had it with Pete, for that matter. I had it with a lot of guys. Now, I don't rob anyone of their life's accomplishments. And, I've been around sports. I worked at ESPN for 5 years. I've grown up in sports. And, anybody that's been an important person in your life, even if he's a position coach, even in high school, you will continue to refer to them throughout your life as coach. But I do think at some point, you don't get to run around calling yourself coach. Obviously, head coach of a Division I, multiple Division I programs, an NFL team, you're going to keep that moniker. But I don't know, like JV, defensive line, Pop Warner, like where is the bottom on when you get to stop calling yourself coach?
Well, that's a good point. And I will say this, Will, that a coach is a very important position because you touch so many lives. And it's rich, poor, black, white, rural, urban. And that's one thing I loved about it because I would bring people when I was coaching at Ole Miss or Auburn or Texas Tech. We'd bring young men from all over the country, from different environments, put them together. And number one, get an education. Number two, try to teach them the difference between right and wrong. And then try to get everybody lined up in the same and going in the same direction. It is a hard job, but I tell you, I enjoyed every minute of it. And I don't think you can be in coaching for 1 or 2 years and really call yourself somebody that's put their time into it. But I know a lot of good coaches. I know a lot of coaches. Coaches affected my life. I'll tell you that right now. My parents were number one. Coaches were number two. And I hope we don't ruin athletics through all this NIL nonsense, pay for play. And I don't mind players making money, but we got to come to some reality that we cannot continue to do what we're doing in college sports, because what is going to happen is we're going to lose all the Olympic sports and all the women's sports because they got to have money, and the money has to come from the makings of football and basketball. And if all the money goes into that, then we're going to have a tough time in this country.
I intend to talk to you about the most important news of the day, and that's the both the Senate Majority Leader and the confirmation of Donald Trump's picks for cabinet. But you've just said two things that fascinate me that I need to follow up on. One, Coach, I remember when I was at ESPN and culture and politics and news were infiltrating the world of sports. And we would have these constant conversations, about, as you mentioned, race relations or whatever it may be. And one of the things that I had said is we're trying to impose neighborhood societal standards on a locker room. And the truth is, we'd be better served as a country if our neighborhood and society more reflected a locker room, not the other way around. So, yeah, guys talk rough with one another. They make fun of one another. They say politically incorrect things. But you bring together people of every socioeconomic and racial background in pursuit of a common purpose. And through that, build a brotherhood. If that's not how you build a society, I don't know what is. And I don't want to see the locker room start to become what we think is the politically correct version of America.
Yeah, the three things that made our country great, Will. Number one, when you're born in this country, if you had two parents that raised you, you hit the lottery, okay? Because that doesn't happen very often anymore, but that's how this country was built. Number two was kids from different backgrounds. If they couldn't make it at a college or couldn't afford, they went to the military. The military was something that just built this country and built patriotism and taught them, again, a lot of things that you learn that you don't learn at home. And then the third thing is sports. It brings people together like the military, and you have to deal with each other. You have to laugh and cry with each other. You have to learn how to win. You have to learn how to lose. You have to learn time restraint, work ethics, all those things. And if you look at what's going on in our country right now, we're trying, not we, but, we got the far left trying to destroy family. They have almost destroyed our military. We've got a lot of good people, but I'm going to tell you, we're on a downward spiral. I'm on the Armed Services Committee. I've traveled all over the world, all over these bases. We got problems. And the third thing is what we just talked about, this NIL, and it seeps all the way down into high school. Georgia athletes now can make money in high school. We cannot continue this. It's got to be about education and learning the difference between right and wrong. Again, I don't mind them making money, but we have to continue the other things along with that.
Well, how do we do that? That was the other curiosity I'm going to follow up with you on before we get into the news of the day. And that is, I'm like you, I'm a capitalist. I don't begrudge people making money off their unique God-given talents. But you just laid out for us, people need to understand what's happening in college sports. If we move down, and we are moving down the path of paying these football players who may or may not deserve the level of compensation they're going to soon receive, it will raid money from college. It will kill Olympic sports. All those are funded on the back of the revenue-generating sports. So you like getting gold medals and dominating the Olympics? I'm not sure that's the future for America if we go down this path. So I have always been someone that says, you don't appreciate unintended consequences. I know you think this is the just thing to do, but have you thought about the potential injustices down the line? I'm not even sure you or I completely understand how it may all shake out. But I also don't know, Coach, how we solve that. I don't know how we reconcile the future of NIL.
Yeah, we're in the infant stages of the NIL, players making money. The problem that we've got to fix very quickly, and Joe Manchin and I had a bill that we did with coaches, players, parents, NCAA the last couple of years. Schumer wouldn't bring it to the floor because obviously Democrats want to unionize everybody. And so we wasn't going to stand for that. Even Joe Manchin said, we can't do that. But we've got to make them understand if you got a contract, you got to fulfill it. Okay. If you signed for $200,000 or $300,000 a year, I'm fine with that. You sign a contract, you can't break it. If you break it, you got to pay it back. See what I'm saying? And then the other thing is, if you transfer, you got to pay a price for that. And used to, in your generation and mine, when you're coming up in college, if you want to transfer, it's good, but you have to sit out a year. And it kept kids from just jumping around, because what happens when you transfer one time, you never graduate. It's almost impossible because you're starting from scratch. Very few of your hours transfer. So we're getting away from what has made this country great, of teaching discipline and teaching kids to do what's right, and we can count on you. Right now, we're teaching them to quit, and that's wrong.
Well, I really like what you had to say about the foundations of what I think is uniqueness in American society: family, military, and sports. I would add a lot to that, but I think that's three really big components. All right, let's talk about what's important. So first of all, I know you supported Senator Rick Scott for majority leader. He failed, I believe, on, I don't know, it was the first or second round of voting. It moved on. It is now going to be, I believe, South Dakota Senator John Thune as your majority leader. What do you think of John Thune as your majority leader in the Senate?
Well, first of all, we're 53, right? And I've been here 4 years, and we're all friends because it's like a sport. It's like a team. We go through some tough times, some good times. Some people go other ways, and you're supposed to represent your state. And that's what I do. I was for Rick Scott for several reasons. Number one, he was a businessman. He's not a career politician. He knows President Trump. He knows how to communicate through the business lingo, all those things. Of course, then you had John Cornyn, who's very brought up in politics in Texas and of course up here. And John Thune's been up here a long time. Rick Scott didn't win. I'm going to fully support John Thune now. He's got his hands full. He met with President Trump yesterday, and his job is to get these people across the finish line that he's pushing towards his cabinet. And again, hey, if you ask for a tough job, you're going to get it. And as we've all seen, the media and everything, it's going to be tough to get some of these people across the goal line and confirmed.
More on that in just a moment. Do you trust that Senator Thune will support President Trump? There have been people that have pointed out some of his tweets in the past where he has been in opposition to Donald Trump. Donald Trump has a clear mandate and he has a lot of power, and I believe Mark Halperin just tweeted this out. I'll share this with you, Senator. He said, here's one factor, for example, in those that say Matt Gaetz' nomination is dead and they're not considering. Every Republican senator has donors, friends, staffers, constituents, in some cases kin, who want something from the incoming Trump administration, especially jobs. You think the Trump White House is going to help out any senator who goes against Gaetz? So before we get into Gaetz and Hegseth and Gabbard, what do you think about Thune's, your trust of Thune's support of Trump?
Yeah, he has no choice, Will. I mean, the spotlight is really going to be on him. I've sat down one-on-one with him before the vote, and he assured me he's going to do everything he can to help President Trump. And I believe that. I really do. He's a Republican. He comes from a very conservative state. I don't think he's got nothing to lose. And I told him, you got nothing to lose. Let's go. Full speed ahead. But there was, as you said earlier,
right,
the country gave us a mandate of the popular vote and everything else. And even states that are Democrat, like California, President Trump got almost 40% of the vote. That's unheard of. They want to change, and they want it changed up here in the swamp. And so I think John Thune has got his hands full, but, he can do it, but he's going to have a lot of help from all of us. It's going to be all 53 of us.
Right. Will these guys get confirmed? I don't know if we need to talk about them individually, but, of course, he's my friend, and I will bang the drum for the qualities of Pete Hegseth. Tulsi Gabbard will be controversial in some spaces, and I mean, most notably and most controversial is for Attorney General Matt Gaetz.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you're not going to get any Democrat votes. So you can stop right there. So to get it done, you got to have 51 votes. We got 53 in the Senate. I've already heard some talk about some of these people on the Republican side. I don't know about this one. I don't know about that one. Wait a minute. We were told by the American people we've had enough. President Trump didn't get his shot last time because he didn't get his people confirmed. Let us get out of the way as senators and let President Trump pick his assistant coaches, and let's go. Pete Hegseth will be excellent. I'm on the Armed Services Committee. Let me tell you something. We had Lloyd Austin come in, and we are as woke as you can imagine. And all the Secretary of Air Force, the Army, the Navy, all these people. We are running our military. Now, we got some good people. And I held up the promotions from all the generals for about almost a year because of the travel abortion policy. And we did a big study in the Pentagon. Well, we got 44 four-star generals. Their budgets are $250 million each. $250 million. They have about 2,000 employees for each one of them. What the hell's going on here? We need to take all that money, shut down the Pentagon to about 3 sides instead of 5, and say, listen, let's build the best military in the world. Get away from this affirmative action. Get away from this woke nonsense, and let's build a killing machine. Because if we don't, they're coming at us from all sides. And Pete will do a hell of a job because he is not one of them.
I totally agree, and I hope your fellow senators agree. Pete will do that job as Secretary of Defense. What about Gaetz? You talk about Republicans who are grumbling or saying this or that. The implication is that Gaetz would get the most pushback as Attorney General.
Well, first of all, you got to remember, about 90% of the people up are what? They're lawyers, okay? They got one football coach. We got a few business people up here, but most of them are lawyers. And they know better than everybody else what a good lawyer is, right? So when I first got here, we had AG that come across our desk, okay, Merrick Garland. Is he any good? Oh, man, he's got a lot of experience. We had 20 Republicans that voted to confirm him, along with the 50-something Democrats, okay? We had 20. The worst AG in the history of this country went against the Constitution. He went after parents that were trying to say, hey, listen, we control our kids. Don't be teaching them stuff at schools. He went after them. He tried to arrest Donald Trump. He tried to put him in jail. And we had 20 people voted for him, and they don't like Matt Gaetz, who's smart as anybody up here. He's been on the Judiciary Committee for 7 years. He is perfect for this job. He's a millennial that will work as hard as President Trump, and that's hard to do because President Trump works about 20 hours a day. And Matt Gaetz should be confirmed. Now, we'll have some of these know-it-alls up here on the Republican side that say, he's had problems in the past. Prove it. If you can prove it, fine. I won't vote for him. But I'm tired of hearing these people complain about, oh, he's got ethics rules over in the House. 4 years they've looked into it, Will, and they ain't proved a dang thing. And so let's go on with this and give President Trump the players that he needs to run this team.
Two last questions. I know you're tight on time, Senator. I want to be respectful of your time. Do you think it will require, there's been some talk about the use of recess appointments. Do you think there was anything to a requirement for recess appointments?
Hey, I'm fine with that, but I think we ought to do our job to begin with. You know, we spend 80% of our time up here confirming people. That's all you do in the Senate. You'll do a bill every once in a while that's sent to you, or a budget. But most of the time, what you do is you do confirmations. We should do our due diligence. We should use every tool in the toolbox. If President Trump wants them, let's confirm them. I don't care how we do it. Even the recess appointments, it doesn't make me any difference. We have been given the mandate. The people are sick of this place up here, and let's get Robert Kennedy Jr. if he's sent down to us. Let's get all of them. Tulsi Gabbard, the Democrats had her on the terrorist watch list. Come on, are you kidding me? I mean, it's ridiculous. They will do everything in the world, Will, to tear this country down. And first of all, they are going to try to tear Donald Trump down. They are not done. It is going to be hard to get anything done. And if we don't get 53 senators from the Republican side say, okay, they've done it to us, let's give President Trump the chance and the opportunity that the people said he needs.
Last question for my own curiosity. We're going to end where we started, Coach, and that's this. I'm just fascinated how it happened for you. You know, as I mentioned, Ole Miss, Auburn, Tech. I believe you had a stint where you and I might have been colleagues at ESPN for a year in roughly 2017 or 18. And then you decided to run for senator. I'm just curious how that came to you. Like, both as a man in your life, but also logistically, did the people of Alabama come to you? How did this happen that you decide you're going from coaching to the United States Senate?
Yeah, good question. And, you know, my dad was career military, actually died in the military at age 53. He landed in 17 years old at Normandy and drove a tank across Europe. That was the greatest generation. My brother was in the military. I missed Vietnam by a year. I had a draft number at 18, but there was no war going on. So, you know, I got a degree in education. I'm going to go into coaching. So I got in it, and I never gave back to the greatest country ever. So when I get out, as you said, I worked for ESPN for a couple of years, and my wife said, hey, you need to get you a real job that's 24/7, and you don't need to be around my house. And so I thought about running for governor first, and I said, you know, I'm going to run for Senate. And then President Trump called me, and we jumped on board, and you know, it all worked out. You know, won every race for over 20%. You know, and I told people, listen, people, this is the reason I'm running. I've been in the schools all over this country in all 50 states. We are losing our education. You won't believe what's on these transcripts I'm reading. You won't believe that kids are coming in and they got 3.5 GPAs, and when we test them, they can't read past the 6th grade reading level. Our education is about gone. We got to get rid of these unions, and we got to get homeschool tax credits. We've got to get school choice. We got to do everything for education, because, Will, our kids are in a tailspin right now. And that's the reason that I think that President Trump got a lot of votes from Generation X and Z and said, listen, I'm getting away from this woke stuff. I want to have a great life and get a great job and have a great family. So that's the reason I ran, because mainly number one was education.
Yeah. Well, Coach, I wanted to end with a controversial question, which I think actually ends up being a layup. I know what you'll do, but I'll give you one chance on the way out. Are you going to give me guns up? Are you going to give me hotty toddy? Or are you going to give me War Eagle?
Guns up, War Eagle. Hey, all of them. But what I want to know is, I'm coming to the Texas A&M game. You know, I coached at Texas A&M 1 year with R.C. Slocum in 1994. We beat Texas, and people, you know, the Auburn Alabama game is huge, but it's same as Texas A&M, and you're playing for the first time. Didn't play last year, right?
No, this is the first time back.
This is the first time. Oh my God. I got to see this one. So I'm coming. I'm going to sit with R.C. Slocum at the game. I'm looking forward to coming.
All right. Well, if I'm there, Coach, you can be over there giving a gig 'em. I will promise you I'll be hook 'em horns up. That's how I roll. But
gig 'em.
But we want your team in D.C. To win. This is a big time for America. Coach, Senator Tommy Tuberville. Thanks so much for being on the Will Cain Show.
Thank you, Will. God bless.
All right. God bless. There he goes, Coach Senator Tommy Tuberville. And only for a moment, just a brief, wonderful moment, was I the Secretary of Defense when he called me Pete Hegseth. All right, coming up, let's do a quick hits around the world with Dawn Tinfoil Pat, the host of Sabado Gigante version of the Will Cain Show. 5 stories we got to hit, from these horrible reports out of FEMA to the sexiest man in America. Coming up on the Will Cain Show. FEMA will not go to the doors of people who support Donald Trump. Who is the sexiest man alive? Is it your nominee for Secretary of Defense? It is the Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel and the Fox News Facebook page. Hit subscribe if you would on YouTube. Set a reminder. You'll be with us every Monday through Thursday at 12 o'clock Eastern Time right here on the Fox News YouTube channel. Or subscribe on Apple or Spotify, and you're with us at your leisure on demand. Bob Costa over at CBS has tweeted out the following from the conversation we just had with Tommy Tuberville. He talked about the potential for confirmation of Matt Gaetz as Attorney General. He said, what I'm hearing privately from a few key GOP senators, yes, they'd prefer not to have a messy fight over Gaetz, not their favorite. But they also don't have a lot of energy for pushing back. Trump runs the show, they say. If Gaetz can reassure them, they're open to backing him. Donald Trump has hit the ground absolutely running. And whether or not you look at each and every one of these individuals, and you as a listener, or you as a viewer, or you as a voter, love them individually, I think one thing is undeniable. It's a bomb on the bureaucracy. The aggressiveness with which Donald Trump has attacked the formation of his cabinet and the new vision for the next 4 years of America is inspiring if anyone thinks this, that we're not going to get where we need to get by incremental change with competent bureaucrats. The way we are going to get there is through, yes, very smart people. There's no one that can question the intelligence of people like Pete Hegseth, Matt Gaetz, or Tulsi Gabbard. And perhaps very soon, RFK, rumors of him being appointed to HHS. No one can question the intellect of these individuals. And I think they're beyond the pale as well of questions about whether or not where their principles lie. So the question is, are we ready? Are we ready for this type of revolution, this aggressiveness? As Elon Musk says, Donald Trump was never a threat to democracy. He was a threat to bureaucracy. Let's do our Will Cain Show, Sabado Gigante, quick hits around the news. Let's bring in now the Willisha in New York and our host, Dawn Tinfoil Pat. Take it away, Dawn.
Here we go, Will. I hope you're excited for this round of quick kicks.
Let's go.
We have a story out of FEMA. Now, I believe we discussed it on the show. I don't remember. We had a lot of election stuff, big shows, massive blowout shows. So this story's been evolving. Marnie Washington was accused. Yes. What?
Yes. I said, okay. Keep it going, Don.
Yeah,
we need your energy up. I feel you
Quick
flagging.
takes.
Do you guys feel that?
Let's go.
God, that was like a quarter horse. He was good and hot for less than a quarter of a mile. And then his speed started running. Let's go, baby.
This story changed up. This story changed up. In an interview with Roland Martin, Marnie Washington, the FEMA administrator accused of telling employees to avoid Trump supporters, claims that it was not her, it was FEMA themselves who ordered them to avoid Trump signs. So let's roll the tape.
Right. I was fired. Cool. They all alleged that these actions were made on my own recognizances and that it was for my own political advances. However, if you look at the record, there is what we call a community trend. And unfortunately, it just so happened that the political hostility that was encountered by my team, and I was on 2 different teams during this deployment, they just so happened to have the Trump campaign signage. FEMA always preaches avoidance first and then de-escalation. So this is not isolated. This is a colossal event of avoidance, not just in the state of Florida, but you will find avoidance in the Carolinas. Senior leadership will lie to you and tell you that they do not know. But if you ask the DSA crew leads and specialists what they are experiencing in the field, they will tell you. Demand for FEMA to give you those incident reports.
So she's claiming that they did this because Trump supporters were unusually aggressive. Is that right?
Right.
Should they have done that? What do you say, Will?
Okay. I have 3 takeaways from Marnie Washington's clip there. Number 1, she is admitting that this was done in other natural disaster locations like North Carolina. It wasn't an isolated incident in Florida. She is saying she did not make this executive decision on her own, but it came from the top, and that means it happened in other places like North Carolina. 2, that means it's a policy from FEMA, top-down guidance. 3, she's saying it's, though, a well-deserved piece of guidance because she's suggesting that they have encountered problems, threats with people who support Donald Trump when confronted or approached by FEMA. Starting with number 3 and working our way backwards. Bullshit. That is not, where is the evidence? She says demand the incident reports. I share that. Let's go ahead. Let's get a Freedom of Information Act. Let's see the frequency at which this happened with the supporters of Donald Trump. I place a nice wager that if she can come up with, if there are incident reports within FEMA, they don't amount to more than anecdotal. Then work our way backwards to number 2. Shame on you. Shame on you that you are now implementing a policy that's hurting people in natural disasters in North Carolina. I doubt this happened in some place like Lahaina. Not a lot of Trump signs, at least not then. Might be now. In fact, I know there are now. Florida. I mean, just shame on you. And then working on number 1, if this is a policy, this is a huge, gigantic story that has not received its due attention because we've been focused on a presidential election and his cabinet appointments. This is massive. And a government agency designed to help people in need in moments of crisis discriminating at a nationwide level. This is a massive scandal. This is the kind of thing that would have led, had it ever have been what they purport to be, 60 Minutes. This is the type of thing that has to be rooted out by Donald Trump and whoever he appoints to the head of FEMA. What if FEMA's under HHS, right? So HHS we think is going to be Kristi Noem. I mean, this has to be totally, not HHS, Homeland Security, DHS. Yeah. HHS is RFK. DHS, Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. This has to be attacked. This is a massive story for FEMA. Take it away, Don.
Here we go. Now we got another one, another great one for you. A good friend of yours, Don Lemon. He's leaving X, and he made sure that everyone knew about it. He had a post and a video. But he's not the only one, Will. There's a mass exodus from people like Nicole Wallace, Joy Reid, Jamie Lee Curtis, and more. How soon before they return back to X? 2 weeks? Over, under?
I'd take the over. I'm going to give them more than 2 weeks.
1 month.
I'd say 4. 1 month. That's what I'm feeling. 1 month. They will come back. Moths to a flame. Twitter is the media crack addict that they have to have it.
It's so addicting.
They have to. And the truth is, like, I think X is getting more powerful, but for most of its history, you know what X is? It's a water cooler bubble of media individuals talking to one another and influencing their own enhancing their own influence beyond what actually is. Literally, people have made so much money convincing media executives that they are bigger and have an audience more so than they do because of what has happened on X. Like, I could rattle off the media. I'll give you one. Ronan Farrow, who, by the way, has done a lot of, like, real reporting on Me Too, but Ronan Farrow was just, we're going back like 10 years now. But, like, he was a Twitter personality. That they were like, hey, look at that. He's got the younger generation on Twitter. They gave him a show on MSNBC. Like a show. It failed. But, I mean, that's one example. The truth is there's dozens. And so moths to a flame, once they feel like they're not being relevant, once they're not relevant, they'll be back within a month. What's up, James?
This might be too far outside the weave, but Ronan Farrow's second book, after he was done reporting on all the Me Too stuff, was actually basically an argument of why we need more bureaucrats in the State Department.
More.
Yeah,
More.
he was
Okay.
like, this is our way to diplomacy and safety around the world, is more bureaucrats.
Well, that aged like milk, just like his show on MSNBC. Take it away, Don.
All right, we're going fast. We're going quick takes. So the FBI has raided the home of Polymarket CEO Shane Copland. Now, Copland claims that it was political retribution because Polymarket correctly predicted the election of Donald Trump. He said, it's discouraging that the current administration would seek a last-ditch effort to go after companies they deem to be associated with political opponents. What say you, Will? Was this a political target?
What is the... I'm going to be honest, I haven't read it on this story yet. What is the justification for the raid? What are they suggesting he was doing? What's the probable cause? What's the
We haven't seen any of that.
purpose of the investigation?
Yeah, all we have is Copland.
Well,
So
Polymarket,
there's not a lot.
it's one of the big winners of the election. Everyone's pointed it out. I mean, it beat the polls. It embarrassed the polls. The founder of Polymarket has been on the All In podcast. People are talking about like the value of this whole thing. And so it's incredibly suspect that right after it has one of its biggest wins, it's raided. Yeah, I'm incredibly suspect of what's coming the way of Polymarket.
Yeah, I agree.
I want to hear more about
Anyway,
that story. Yeah.
We'll have to learn more about the story later. For now, what do you think about this? Laura Trump is receiving a lot of love to replace Senator Marco Rubio as one of Florida's senators. But CNN's Scott Jennings has an excellent idea, and he's nominated beloved wrestling icon Hulk Hogan for senator of Florida. Now, he wouldn't be the first
Hulk
WWE
Hogan.
Hall of Famer in politics. Can he do it? Will.
What are we looking at when it comes to WWE and politics? Obviously, Jesse Ventura, right?
Yes.
And Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, who was a WWE personality. Are there
Friend of the
others?
program, Glenn
Oh,
Jacobs.
Yeah.
Friend of the program. Yeah,
There's
Cain.
a few others.
Glenn Jacobs,
There's similarities between
mayor
the two.
of Knoxville.
Politics,
Linda
theater.
Well, who else? Who else,
WWE.
James?
From
there's
WWE.
one more.
Linda McMahon.
Yeah.
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 There's one more. I'll think
Yeah,
of it
and
later.
she's leading transition team, right?
Very involved.
Linda
yeah.
McMahon.
And The Rock
Who
may
else?
run for president one day. We just don't know.
The Rock. Yeah,
And
that's
The
The
Rock.
Rock. Yeah.
And The Rock.
Friend of the
Hulk
program.
Hogan, United States
Can
Senator.
you smell what POTUS is cooking?
That's all the Hulkamaniacs in Florida. I'm gonna be honest, like I'm having a little trouble with it. Like I'm gonna need the Hulkster on here making his case as United States Senator. As
Let's
long as
flip
we're
that.
filling vacancies, filling vacancies in Florida, I'm sure Laura Trump would be great. Can I offer one more name? And that is Congressman Byron Donalds.
Yeah.
Also a friend of the
he's
show.
awesome.
Here on the Will Cain Show.
I mean, I don't live in Florida or anything. I mean, we could like really make a grassroots effort here to push through Tinfoil as the next senator of Florida.
Oh, wow.
Can I say one thing about Byron Donalds? When we were
Hold on. I mean, the aura, the charm, the magnetism of Tinfoil Pat on a stage at a rally. He's going to really have to channel the Don Tinfoil version of himself. In fact, where's
put on
his
a suit and
music?
tie?
If you don't keep his music going,
It's going.
you made a mistake. He's going to have constant
Do the
music
dance.
under him. Constant music under him to remind him. Spurs in the back end of the horse.
I feel like I need to
What's
write a
up,
song
James?
just for him.
I just wanted to say how great of a guy Byron Donalds is. Not just that he's an absolute dude, but
Wow.
when we were backstage at MSG and the amount of important people that were there, and Byron Donalds, we come over and talk for a little bit, and the amount of time that he took and like spent talking to a 25-year-old kid who had no business being in that room, and for a very long time, and just kept going. He's like, no, let's just talk baseball.
That's a fact.
And he just kind of like took me under the wing for a little bit, and
You had
he was
you
a
had no
good
business
dude.
being in that room.
You trying to get a job there, bud?
That's a fact.
Like a Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. I was like,
Oh
We
my
have-
gosh. There's Rudy Giuliani. Let's go talk to Rudy Giuliani.
Oh my God.
You know, I mean,
that was fun. That was fun.
Will, introduce me. Will, introduce me.
So we have our next guest ready to go. But we have one more.
Other than making
one
fun
more
of you,
quick take.
James, real quick, other than making fun of you, James, which is my job, you're absolutely right about Donalds. awesome guy, spends time with you, and it's not obligatory, and it's not checking the box, and it's not looking over your shoulder, seeing how quickly he can get to the next person. Just an awesome guy. All right, Don.
Our last one. People magazine just released their new Sexiest Man Alive, and it happens to be John Krasinski of The Office fame.
It's not you, Will. Sorry.
It's not Will or Pete.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I it's got to be the Secretary of Defense at some point, right? Like at some point, it's.
They're gonna do a calendar.
Who was last year's? Can any of you name last year's Sexiest Man Alive?
No clue.
Well, if it wasn't Tom Brady, it's
exactly.
It's not Bradley Cooper.
Exactly. But in the 90s, I feel like we could have in the 90s. I feel like
he's Grey's Anatomy guy.
The 90s were a hot run for Sexiest Man Alive.
I have 2023. 2023 is Patrick Dempsey from Grey's Anatomy. 2022 Chris Evans. 2021 Paul Rudd. Those are the last three.
Yeah. I would never have been able to guess that. But I can tell you it was Brad Pitt, George Clooney, Harrison Ford. Back in the day.
The Rock got 2016.
You can't.
Friend of the program.
He did?
Yep.
Another friend of the program. Yeah. I don't know. Let's see if we can get it going for the SecDef. Let's see if we can get a campaign going for Secretary of Defense, people's Sexiest Man Alive. All right, good version of Quick Hits with Don. Tinfoil Pat. Let's give it up for him, boys. I would say not quite the level of last time. So we're going to have to amp up the Adderall and cocaine, see if we can get the energy up a little bit, but a valiant effort today. Nice work. All right. Lou Valentino is a big host on YouTube. He's from the Bronx. I met Lou several times now. And we talked before the election. I said to him, how many of your buddies, Dominican, Puerto Rican, black, how many of your buddies in the Bronx do you think are going to vote for Trump? And he said, all of them. It just about worked out that way. We'll talk about that next on The Will Cain Show. Welcome back to the Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel, and the Fox News Facebook page. Always on demand by subscribing at Apple or Spotify. Also, there's a subscription button in the live chat. So I know many of you are in the live chat right now here on the Will Cain Show. At the top of the live chat is a subscription button on YouTube. You can subscribe to the Will Cain Show. Like perhaps Suzanne did. Is this my boss? Is this the president of Fox? Suzanne says, we need to start holding the view of joining the military in the same regard as we do being accepted into an Ivy League school. Totally agree, Suzanne. Especially since I think it might be my boss watching and commenting on YouTube. But that's what Pete Hegseth can do, is make military recruiting cool again. I saw a clip of Pete on with Sean Ryan, very popular show. And he was like, let's get the guy that made Top Gun Maverick to be in charge of recruiting, you know. Military recruiting's been down year after year. It's like lost its cachet. It's cool. We do need to make it as prestigious as an Ivy League. Ricky LaFleur on YouTube says Elon and Vivek's appointments will be astronomical in draining the swamp. I'm really excited about the Department of Government Efficiency and these guys taking a magnifying glass, a microscope to everything, and then making recommendations over to Donald Trump and his cabinet on how they can drain the swamp. And Royale with cheese. Let's see if Thune can whip the votes. Royale with cheese. I remember that. That's from Pulp Fiction. What do you call a quarter pounder in France? A Royale with cheese. All right, let's bring in the host of LV Nation on YouTube. It's Lou Valentino here on the Will Cain Show. What's up, Lou?
What's going on, brother? How you doing?
I'm good, man. It's been a minute. We saw each other before the election up there at Fox. We talked. I said,
we
Lou,
saw each other a lot before the election, so
are
big
you
time stuff?
You're Bronx, right, Lou?
Yeah,
The Bronx?
I'm originally from the Bronx, New York.
Yeah, I said to you, how many of your buddies, how many of the guys in the Bronx, I asked you this right before the election, how many of your buddies are going to vote for Trump? You kind of like shook your shoulders at me and you go, all of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I got the numbers in front of me. So the Bronx, plus 21 points for Trump, Queens plus 20 points for Trump, and then Brooklyn, plus 11 points for Trump. So definitely had like a huge growth, specifically in Hispanic and Black neighborhoods. But it was overpowered by mostly the neighborhoods that have all the white liberals in Manhattan and spread it out. So it's crazy how it worked this time around. Trump lost, 2020, New York by like 2.5 million votes. This time, only 800 and something thousand, around 900,000. So the margin really was just the city and some of the boroughs, but those boroughs saw a significant hike compared to 2016 and 2020. So yeah, that was pretty much the barbershop talks. A lot of men came out and voted for Trump. A lot of Hispanic men. Obviously, he won the Hispanic men vote by 55%. Women, I think, were about at 46%. So it is pretty significant and crazy what the numbers now reflect. I think that what I was seeing was exactly what I thought I was seeing. Now, on the other hand, what the media was seeing was something else, obviously saying that this will be a close race. And we saw that it was a landslide victory with the popular vote and the electoral college vote.
Lou, what are you? What are you? Are you Dominican, Puerto Rican? What are you?
I'm both. Puerto Rican and Dominican.
You're both. Okay.
I did my ancestry test, and it's always hilarious finding out how much African, how much European you have, and all these different things. But yeah, I'm Dominican and Puerto Rican.
All right, you can speak to this from many different backgrounds then. So let's walk through this. Here's what the media is saying now, Lou. They're saying Latino men, well, not your Dominican or Puerto Rican, that's under the umbrella of Latino. They're saying Latino men, and I don't even know what they're suggesting here. Are they suggesting Mexican culture? Are they suggesting all Latino culture? I don't know what this, Lou, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but before I went into media and before you got to know me from ESPN, I started a Latino magazine. Did you know that?
I had no idea.
You're going to like this. But you're Dominican, Puerto Rican, so it won't quite hit. No, don't laugh. Why you laugh? You're going to laugh more in a minute.
What are you doing starting a Latino magazine? That's
because I'm an entrepreneur, man. That's what I do.
Okay.
And
you're ahead of your time.
This is what. But hold on, you're getting your laughs out too quick because you haven't even heard yet what the magazine was. I started a magazine for quinceañeras. So a website, event company, and magazine to help young ladies plan their quinceañera. Now, here's why, Lou. So I grew up in Texas, right? And I knew the growing Latino population. I'm like, I want to have a media property in a growing market. And my wife's from West Texas. And back then, there wasn't a huge Latino population. I'm from way North Texas. Now there is. And she taught me about quinceañeras. And, it's a huge deal, right? So I started a magazine website for quinceañeras. How did I get on this? Why did I even start talking about quinceañeras? Anyway, I know what it was. I learned then that Hispanic is a government census related term that is really kind of, it's not useful. It doesn't mean much, right? I mean, there's a difference between Mexican American and Puerto Rican American. There's a difference between fifth generation and first generation. There's a difference between people from a Caribbean like Puerto Rico, Dominican, and Cuba versus
Absolutely.
Central America in terms of baseball over here, soccer over there. Real cultural differences that when you say Hispanic, it just glosses over all of it. Or Latino,
so
kind
the
of
media,
for that matter.
Not to interrupt, but the media, that's what I've noticed they've done, specifically in the mainstream media, which is why you see, when I think of white people in the United States of America, I don't think of every European, I don't think of them, right? So if Europeans come over here, I know I could tell a difference. They think that everybody that crossed the border is Hispanic, and I have to relate to them. It's wait a minute, what? What are you saying right now? That's kind of a crazy assumption that I'm related to all these people that are coming across the border. Number one, they're not even all Hispanic. They're from 180 countries all around the world, and you're just assuming that I have to vote this way because they're gonna deport you. I'm not gonna lie to you, Will. I've seen the craziest, most, and I hate the using terms like racist. I hate talking about race, but I think that, man, the mainstream media showed their ASS, they showed their true colors because they're basically, your family's gonna get deported. My family has been here for generations. My family has been here for
Right.
generations. At what point do we get to enjoy being American? And at what point do you consider anybody else other than white American? So it goes to show you that the mainstream media only views, and a lot of them, I'm talking about legacy media, they only presume that, oh, you're white, you're actually American, but if you're not white, you must come from somewhere else. Like, nah, man, we've been here for generations. Like Puerto Ricans, Dominicans have been here for generations as well. When do we get to enjoy calling ourselves American? Or, you know, or get to enjoy being part of America? Like, when do we get to just vote for what we want to do? But, you know, they just box you in. And when you vote differently from them, all of a sudden now you're all Mexicans. Now you're all getting deported. So it's pretty crazy the way that they have framed this election, specifically with Trump. It's a mandate from Latino men. That's a mandate compared to the numbers before, that 55% of Latino men voted for Donald J. Trump, specifically when the media tries to tell you that Trump hates Hispanics and all these different people, you know, all these different groups. So yeah, they don't even know what's going on. And I faced it the most because, you know, I'm pretty sure Joy Reid thinks I'm Mexican. Like, I'm pretty sure in her mind, she sees no difference. And no offense to Mexicans, but I'm not. So that lets you know that Mexicans got their own culture, Guatemalans got their own culture, Salvadorians have their own culture. It's different races, different backgrounds, but this umbrella that the mainstream media is using to blame us all, or try to like shame us into not voting for Donald J. Trump, I think is crazy.
I think you are spot on, man. Like, they showed their ass. And here's what you're getting at, what we're talking about. Like, it's not what they're suggesting, and they said things like, how could you, and when I said that the Hispanic umbrella term is meaningless, I'm actually talking about it from a business and demographic standpoint, like understanding different cultures. But they're now doing this thing like, well, if you're Hispanic, you're illegal, kind of. Like, they're even mixing that up. Like, how do all these people vote for deportations? Well, you know why? Because they're Americans. They're Americans. And like, I think you're 100% right. They're showing their ass to say, what are you saying? Are you saying that if I'm brown, then I'm not American, that I should be afraid of being deported? It's really underlyingly, no, it's overtly racist.
Yeah, I think, like, once again, and I'm glad that you said it, but they showed their ass, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing from the mainstream media, specifically MSNBC and all these, you know, legacy media as a whole. Like, their whole trying to explain, right, having Ana Navarro up there, or having different people that are Hispanics going on these shows, basically trying to shame us. But really what we voted for was morality, the platform, right? What they're voting for is immorality, in my opinion, right? We're very religious people. I'm a very religious person. My mom is a pastor. My aunt is a pastor. We're all so, we value life no matter what stages it is. Like they try to say, it's the fetus. Like, the way we look at abortion is completely different from what the Democratic platform may view it as. So we're not really trying to go in the direction of super left or super right, but we're just trying to use common sense. And yeah, I don't think that the Democratic platform is really representing the values that a lot of people that have been here for generations or coming through and trying to become citizens, they're not really showing up with the values that we grew up with. And that's the number one reason, right? So their fight for it would be like, well, Donald Trump isn't a Christian. Well, we're not talking about Donald Trump. We're talking about the Republican platform, conservative platforms. We're all pretty much socially conservative. And if the policies show up that way, then we're going to vote that way. But right now, it's just not showing up that way from the left. And the left right now, what they're doing is they're pushing us even farther to the right by calling us misogynistic and racist. Mind you, Trump grew the black male vote by over 15 points, and it went all the way up to 34 points in certain counties in the United States of America. So we're talking about a group of people, the black men, because that's another, they try to shame black men. Black men went from 14 to 13%, all the way up to 28%, 25%, and 34% in certain counties. That is a huge, drastic change. That's why you see them panicking the way they are, because they're not talking to us anymore. And one thing about us, whether you're white, whether you're Hispanic, Asian, we're all men, and we want to be treated as such. And just look at the reactions to Pete Hegseth, like your boy Pete, right? That is what you call a manly man, right? your boy is that guy. Like, he's a good looking dude. He's white. He's only, man, I knew the moment that Trump announced this dude, I was like, man, here we go. The media is about to lose it over this guy. He should be the sexiest man alive next year for sure. That guy is unbelievably good looking.
All right, this is actually where I started. This is where I started with you, Lou, because now what they're saying, yeah, and you alluded to some of this. Black men are both misogynist, and they are, I think they're saying stuff like, and they're saying this about black men and Latino men, aspiring to white culture or white supremacy, like want to be accepted as white. And then, of course, that Latino men are misogynist, that they've made that argument that it's ingrained. And this is how I got on this whole thing about culture and different cultures from different places, but that ingrained in Latino culture is a misogyny or a reverence for the strong man and the what do you call it? The patriarchy.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think that a lot of black men, and look, I was in early on this, not as early as people in 2016 or even before 2020, but when I first started making content on YouTube and I was growing, man, if you look at the demographic, right? Once again, if you want to look at it, but I would suggest you look at it. Why did the black vote and black men grow this much? Is because a lot of black men have gotten on camera and said, I'm not scared anymore. I have conservative values. I don't like the way the Democratic Party is going, right? And I may not like Donald Trump. I may not like
Hold on real quick.
a lot of things.
Lou, what are you saying black men were scared of before? Were they scared of black women being mad at them? Were they scared of being called an Uncle Tom? If you go that way, those politics, then you're a sellout?
Yeah, so they would be scared of being called sellout, or they would be scared of being put, on TV, right? From like a Roland Martin going at them, or once again, it always kind of goes back to Joy Reid, but people like that are black and are basically spewing, hatred toward other people that don't think like them. And that's what I've Geraldo does this to Hispanics as well. Like I could name you, different people that do it, but yeah, they were pretty much scared. But what happened was that after the 2020 election, man, if you look at all the black content creators, man, it's grown, and they're online on social media trying to wake up the masses and let them know, like, wait, this is not right. We're going in the wrong direction. And look, even some of the most pro-black people in America, right, like Tariq Nasheed and people that are unlikely to support Donald Trump, they came out and said, yo, we're not voting for Kamala. We don't like this. We are black. We've been here for generations. And look what they're doing to us. They're literally importing so many people, so many illegals to our neighborhoods, taking up resources, American resources. So a lot of foundational black Americans turned their backs on the Democratic Party because they noticed, wait, you guys aren't really pro-black. You guys are pro-Democrat. So it's kind of crazy that some of the most controversial voices in the Democratic Party have turned on them. And that's what we're seeing. That spark came from after the 2020 election. And that's why, and it's only going to grow. And the more they keep coming at us, the more we're going to shift to the right.
Well, okay, so back to the barbershop then, okay, because this is you on the with your ear to the ground. Do you think that this shift is about Donald Trump? Like you've said to me today, no, like this is about values and platforms that represent my values. And to a less extent, I think to a less extent, parties, because parties are teams, and teams that are supposed to represent certain values, right? But my curiosity is like, do you think this shift is bigger than Donald Trump? So, I don't know, J.D. Vance or whoever has the mantle of this going forward, do they get the same kind of support from these demographics that's been amazing for Donald Trump?
Well, look, Donald Trump is an anomaly. I've said it before that he's different. Obviously, we're going to be talking about Donald Trump. And I told a lot of people they're on the wrong side of history on this one because, 100 years from now in these books, a lot of kids are going to be wondering, well, who did you vote for? Grandpa? And that grandfather's going to have to answer and say, well, I voted against Donald Trump. And that kid is going to be like, well, why the hell would you do that? This guy's a hero. This guy is on the textbooks. You know what I mean? So Donald Trump is an anomaly specifically because he has he went to the Bronx. I mean, I grew up playing baseball in the field behind where he spoke. this is one of the greatest moments in Bronx history, in my opinion, where a presidential candidate came to speak, specifically Donald Trump, and then he's a Republican. So I think that it can be bigger than Donald Trump. But right now, I think Donald Trump, literally, America, this is the biggest mandate I've seen from Black men, the biggest mandate I've seen from Hispanic men. Donald Trump probably the only one that could do it right now. But I think that there are people out there that can draw the same type. I'm just not sure they'll be able to do it as big as Donald Trump. That is a whole different type of human being right there.
I totally agree. And there's you can't pretend to be Donald Trump either. Like you can't do a Donald Trump act. You can't like take on, he's a unique figure in American history. And I think that you're right. I think the history books will look back even more so on his unique role in American history. But I think, I do think there's something to his style, just like how he presents himself, how he conducts himself, that the media is all going to vilify and has vilified for a decade. But that is appealing, to men, Black men, brown men, white men. And I don't know that I can't see anyone else who steps in with that kind of style to attract the levels that were attracted by Trump.
Well, it's respect, right? We're looking at it from a standpoint of we're expecting this guy, and this is big, right? Like this is the biggest part is we're expecting this guy. It's one of the main reasons I voted for him is to end all wars, right? End the war in the Middle East, or end the war in Ukraine, and every little even ounce of pre-war or pre-invasions that we hear about in Taiwan from China, like, and all of that. And that's what Trump has that I think the world is really shit. Like, we're not really, I told people this, you're not really going to understand the impact Trump had, even if you think by a glimpse you do 30 years from now, right? When we're all like older and we can finally let the dust settle about what 2016 was, even 2024 and what he's going to do now. We're not able to understand the type of respect that he demands when he walks in the room and the way he talks and the way he carries himself. We're talking about somebody that flew to meet with Kim Jong-un, right? This is a move that attracts me. And I'm pretty sure that barbershop is like, yo, ain't nobody more gangster. This, excuse my language, this mother effer went all the way to, meet with the way they talk about him as if he is like, an athlete or somebody that, you want the ball in his hands as the clock is going down. You want to make sure that guy has the ball in his hands. He's taking the last shot. We're going to live and die with that shot more than somebody, that's not as consistent. So I think that's the way we talk about him as men. It's like, yo, this guy is going to get it done. We need one of those in the White House. So the fact that he's putting a Matt Gaetz, the fact that he's, putting a RFK and HHS, and the fact that he's even bringing in these types of alpha males that the left is melting down over. They don't want to see this. This is what they've, been against since he ran. It's like they in their minds, they're done with this. But when you see AOC take off the pronouns out of her bio, it kind of lets you know that people want a lot. They want more sanity. So, by the way, that's breaking news. But yeah,
did she do that? I missed that.
Yeah, she took her pronouns out of her bio. So she's kind of like, yeah, let's go back to a little bit of normalcy and let's not go too far into that. And shout out to everybody that you do what you want to do. It's your life. But it kind of just shows you that the Democratic Party is kind of listening, So not to go too further, but she did get on social media and ask Republicans, who are they listening to? So she's very interested.
Yeah, we sent the audience over there.
Yeah,
we sent the audience. Tell her Will
Cain
very
show.
Interested or Lou TV.
So they're very interested in who people are listening to, and it's not them, And for 4 years, the mainstream media would make you believe that they were the biggest voices, but they're not even close. We are, you know what I'm saying? This show that you're doing is what's drawing people to want to go out there and vote and be updated on their politics. They don't want to hear from the mainstream media anymore. Even I think Fox News. You guys are killing it because everybody is leaving CNN and going over to Fox at this point. So.
Well, I want you more over here. So you're welcome back. Let's make this a regular thing, man. I'm serious. I love talking to you. You can always check him out, by the way, on YouTube, LV Nation. It's Lou Valentino. Great conversation. I know there's 100 different other styles of conversations you and I could have, Lou, about sports and everything else. So let's make it happen. All right?
Let's make it happen. Guys, push Will Cain. Let's make it happen. The Lou Valentino and Will Cain. Well, Will Cain and Lou Valentino. I'm not sure who goes first. Well, you could go Will Valentino or Cain, Lou.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure, Lou.
My man, it is an honor and pleasure to be here. I've been a fan for a while, so this is unbelievable stuff, the fact that I'm here with you. So thank you so much for having me, man.
I'm glad to have you. We're going to do it some more. All right, Lou Valentino, thanks so much. Check him out at LV Nation on YouTube. All right, that's going to do it for me today. Hope you'll be here. What is today? Today's Thursday. Monday, we're back. But we have a Friday edition, sports edition of this show tomorrow. We're going to talk a lot of college football with Andy Staples. So you need to subscribe on Apple or Spotify to get that edition to drop into your feed. But we're back here on Monday, 12 o'clock Eastern time. Make sure you set your reminders and subscribe on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. I will see you again next time.